to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Killian and Coriander. We're
Hey.
heading to Halloween 2.
Yeah.
More of the night he
Yeah.
came home.
Ooh, he's
Mhm.
doing it.
Yeah.
Make sure you talk like that. Like, do this whole thing, please.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. So we're continuing our journey into this franchise, which so far has been everything I've hoped and prayed it would be. It's just been fun, obviously talking about the immortal classic last week. Now we're talking about Halloween 2 from 1981, directed by Rick Rosenthal, not John Carpenter. Um, let's do a quick take. Kill, I'll start with you. What this movie means to you, and then to Coriander.
For me, it was a great follow up to the first. I mean, hell, there have been times when I've watched these movies as one complete movie,
Mm-hmm.
back to back, because that's that, even though, John Carpenter did not direct this, the
Mm-hmm.
flow is still there.
Right.
The
Yeah.
feel, the vibe, the Carpenter
Mm,
isms are still there. And,
yeah.
Jamie Lee, of course, she's amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, this just picks up, right after the first one. So
I
Right.
love that
it's
too.
classic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. How about you, Coriander? What does this movie mean to you?
I mean, Michael Myers is the ultimate boogeyman. No matter what you do, or no matter how many times you think you killed him, he just
Mm-hmm.
keeps coming and coming. I mean, I love
Right.
it.
Right. Absolutely. Real quick in the chat, and we'll see who we have here. We've we've got Fred in the chat saying more of the night he came home. Right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Ain't that the truth? We got Eric in the chat back with us saying, the sequel that was written on a 6 pack of beer a night. That a boy, Carpenter. Yeah. And it shows, man, that even with that, because he did not want to do a sequel. He was not planning for this to be a franchise, and we'll get more into that as we get into the review proper. But it just goes to show, man, he still has that ability because I think that this was a really solid sequel. Triple features in the chat. What's up, man? Saying it feels like one long film.
Mm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Drake saying, "Sorry I'm late, but I'm here." No, man, you're right on time. You are right on
Right?
time. He says the TV version scenes for the first Halloween were shot during the shooting for Halloween 2 because it wasn't long enough for TV. Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Exactly, man. But, this movie, growing up, this movie really stood out for me, and especially just the loneliness of Jamie Lee's character in that final act, which is like 35 minutes. When I rewatched this, I came to a realization the finale is like 35 minutes. It's crazy and it's amazing. But this movie, this was nightmare fuel for me as a young kid growing up when this would play on TV. I absolutely loved it, and it's gonna be fun to talk about it. So we're gonna finish getting set up. For a second. So, for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. Kill, let's start this thing off, man. What are you thinking when this movie first opened up?
Man, look, all I know is once again, Donald Pleasance is the ultimate hype man. Look,
Right?
I'm gonna answer your question, but just there with that scene that you brought a smile to my face because
Yes.
rest in peace, Donald Pleasance. I love you, sir.
Yes.
Just
Hmm.
Mhm.
every time he's on screen, he is speaking the praise, in a negative way, but letting all of these people know you had a happy town. It's not happy anymore. He's out there. You stupid idiot! He's out
I
there. I
shot him six
shot him
times.
6 times.
I love
you know,
that
Seven if you
one.
counted.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it's just crazy that like he keeps preaching the gospel, and it's
Hmm.
like everyone has cobwebs in their ears and they're not listening. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you look, he burnt up right there. That's him. We gotta check the
Yeah.
teeth. We gotta make sure that I didn't just kill some teenage boy just now. I think I killed a teenage boy, but we're gonna sweep that under the rug. We
Right?
gotta, but no. To answer your question, this movie, man, like sort of like what you were saying, how this was nightmare fuel. The thing that's so funny, and I haven't watched this movie in years.
Oh,
I've watched the first one, like pretty much watched the first one every year,
right.
normally around Halloween. But this one,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched this movie in about 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and
Wow.
yeah, it's been a while for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is oppressive. Just the walls of the hospital,
Yes.
like you were saying, the isolation,
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they keep drugging Lori, and that makes her just helpless to anyone.
Yeah.
And also Jamie Lee, I guess the one gripe I would say about this movie is there's not enough of Jamie Lee speaking in it,
Right.
because she's
Right.
either knocked out for most of it, high
Mm-hmm.
as a kite, in a
Right.
bed. Like, I mean, you really have a lot more Donald Pleasance in here, and a lot more
Yes.
of the supporting just hospital staffers,
Right.
doing
Yeah,
their
seeing
night
people getting
shift stuff.
killed.
Yeah,
Mm.
and shouts out to people who work in the hospital night shift. Look, I know it gets boring at nighttime, but hey, like
Be on the
these,
lookout.
yeah, you guys are doing God's work, and like these guys here, I really, the final thing I'll say is I really like how this movie expanded more on the town and the
Right.
town's outlook on the Myers house, the
Right.
loss of so many of their teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
even the sheriff's own daughter.
Yeah,
And
man, that
it
was
just
gruesome.
really, yeah. I mean, and it just really expanded on what John Carpenter had built in the first. And for me, that's always a hallmark of a great sequel. Can you
Yeah.
give me more
Well,
of what I liked from the first one, but expand it?
yeah, and what I liked about it too, and Corey, and I'm gonna give it to you in a second, but I also want to get to the chat. But what I liked about it too is it opened up with the scene from the last movie, and you guys know
Mm.
me, I'm a sucker for that because it just gives the bridge of the whole franchise. And of course, Friday the
Hmm.
13th probably was as famous for that as any other franchise. But I love that about this movie. And Coriander, before I get to you, real quick, we got my man Mac. Mac is back, Jack, and in the chat.
Hey.
What's going on, Mac?
Hey.
And Drake saying, I shot him 6 times. He's not human.
He's a Terminator.
Right? Rest in peace. Triple Feature says, I'm in the minority preferring this over the original. Oh, wow. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie, and it's almost like one long movie. Drake
Yeah.
saying, poor Ben Tramer. Yes. Yep. Mac is saying, dude shot the window to get his point across. I love that part, right? Donald Pleasance was not playing around in this movie.
No,
Yeah,
he was
man.
He
not.
was shouting orders out. Drake saying, I watched the first one 3 times a week, twice on Sunday. Seriously, nice.
Nice.
But
Right?
but Coriander, once we start with the story, they talk, show the scenes from the previous one, and we start off with this. And I thought it was cool because you had Charles Cyphers as the sheriff back with Loomis, and they're on the hunt for Michael. And I don't know, for me, maybe I'm just nostalgic, but I liked seeing those two together. I think they had a nice chemistry together. What were you thinking as the movie started out? Laurie was already being taken to the hospital at this point.
Yeah, like you said, I loved how it went back to back with the first, and
Mm-hmm.
the flow was great. And,
Mm-hmm.
and also this is the first Halloween film to show the morning after Halloween. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. All right.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
anyway, just a little fun fact for you.
Yeah.
But I liked how this movie started out. And yeah, that hospital, I mean, damn, that is one hospital I would not want to get sent to. I mean, you
To
got
this day,
people, yeah, you got people like nurses going to have sex. You got, I mean, yeah, a friggin' guard who's not very good at his job. And
right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, please
Yeah.
don't send me there, is all I have to say.
I mean, to this day, that this movie still makes me creeped out in a hospital. It really, really does. Anytime I've ever had
Yes,
to go,
it's the
anytime I've ever had to go to,
darkest.
yeah, anytime I've
Yes.
ever had to go to a hospital, especially at night, I always think of this movie. Seriously, I really do get creeped out at hospitals because of this movie. So shout out to this movie for that. We got my man Sean Urshan in the chat from the horror corner. I can't do that as well as you, Sean, but I tried. Saying, speaking of Terminator, I think it took influence from this movie, especially the fire scene. Yes, that's a good point. I agree with you on that. That's an excellent point. But and he says, one inept guard. Yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, this movie starts off, they're still on the hunt for Michael. He's still out there. He's walking around. You're getting that tracking shot from the Panaglide, which I thought was cool that they brought that back. So you feel like this movie truly is a continuation. And he's actually walking around. I want to bring this point up and I'm going to throw it to you in a second, Kill. He's walking around the neighborhood. He got shot and he's going to different houses, a couple different houses. The first house he goes to is right there. I thought it was a creepy scene. I like the way he's shown in the background. And just as a quick moment, you guys know I'm nostalgic, but what are they watching, Kill? What are they watching on TV? Is that Night of the Living Dead? Yes,
Yeah,
it
looks
is.
like it.
Shout out to Romero. But Michael is stalking around and he comes into that first scene, which was an added scene. They wanted to have more shock and gore in the movie, so they actually shot this after the fact. This wasn't in the original script, but I thought this was a really fantastic scene as far as the tension and so forth. And of course, Michael is always around, and that scene was really, really good. But the point I wanted to make, and I know we're kind of skipping around a little bit, and we're not talking about the new movie, but I almost think that the 2018 Halloween took a few cues from this because Michael is just walking around in a house here and a house there and just taking care of business. Did you think of that, Kill? Because that came to my mind when I rewatched Halloween 2. I was like, you know what? It was reminiscent, in 2018 how he was walking around just picking people right and left out of
Yeah, yeah.
chance.
I
Okay.
mean, just gliding
Yeah.
through like a
Yeah.
shark in the water, like
Right.
just gliding through, and the way that the camera's tracking it, and we see him, and it's like, oh my God, he's just standing right there. The camera
Mm-hmm.
moves real quick, or the teenager in the scene goes to pick up something. Now he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is she about to get aced out? Oh,
Right.
she didn't get aced out, or and it's part of the kind of surprise of it. Like, okay, well, he just kind of just looked in, was like Candy Graham, okay, and just like left, didn't really do anything to certain people, and then other people, hey, I don't like your curtains, you gotta die.
Right.
So
Right. Too funny. And Coriander, once we get to the hospital, because Lori was being taken to the hospital while Michael is just, basically window shopping, so to speak. And we start to see a couple things at the hospital. Shout out to this kid. For the longest time, I did not know that was a razor blade in his mouth. That old, legend of sorts. They put the razor
And to
blades
think
in
that
the
I mean,
good.
to think that you still have to worry about shit like that today. It's crazy. Yeah, I felt bad for this poor kid.
Right? But then we meet, some of the other characters from the hospital. We got Bud, and we got Jimmy, and then we meet the nurses and the doctors and so forth. So they're really setting up the storyline, the people that are going to be involved in this movie, because Lori obviously is. And I will say it was smart of them to do this because she fell down the stairs, she got stabbed, she obviously broke some stuff, so she has to go to the hospital. You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of smart. But Kill, what were you thinking as the story is setting up here? And, we see that part where Michael hears that she's at the hospital and is basically going to find her. What were you thinking at this point in the movie?
I mean, once again, we keep kind of referencing Terminator. He's taken a robot's approach. He's systematically getting more and more information. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so now she's at the hospital, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just walking the streets because this is still Halloween night. It's not
Right.
the next day yet, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, all right, I'm gonna start heading that way, and then while he's heading that way, you're seeing the nurses coming to work. Orderlies coming to work. The charge nurse right there, she's running the show, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, all right, this is all happening like in conjunction, and all I know is that mother and the son with the razor blade, they are the luckiest patients ever because
Right.
they were mad that they weren't getting like served in time, and luckily they got out of Dodge without a
Right.
Yeah,
scratch.
man.
Because Michael gets there, and he systematically starts taking people out and killing people,
Yeah.
and then certain people we don't even see the death, we just see the aftermath of this dude in his chair
Mm.
or this body tucked here, and it's like, oh damn, he's been busy.
Right.
you know
Yeah. Absolutely. Drake was saying the curtains, Killian, and laughing. That was funny. Slasher Fred was saying, in this movie we learn more about Laurie Strode. Oh yes, we do.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we
do.
do.
We really do. Um, Drake was saying, I feel you on the whole hospital thing, Night. Yeah, man. Just hospitals creep me out because of this movie. It really does. Eric saying, I'm sorry, but I laugh all the time at the line from the girl on the phone saying the old lady was yelling because her husband finally smacked her for harassing him. Right? Fred was saying, this movie is the first time where Michael Myers is referred to by name instead of just the boogeyman. Yes, yes, absolutely. And Drake saying, "I love the Blade Runner poster, Killian." Yeah,
Oh,
it
thank you,
is a good
thank
one.
you.
It is a good one. But we also have, just like in the first movie, Laurie and Loomis are on two different paths. Laurie's at the hospital trying to recuperate, and Loomis is on the hunt. And we have that scene where he thinks he sees Michael Myers. Unfortunately, it's Ben Tramer. What were you? And I'll
Yeah.
start with you, Kill. What were you thinking of that scene?
Well, I mean, technically, in a way, he just killed a kid. Like, I mean,
Right.
accidentally, but I mean,
Mm.
this just shows how serious Doc Loomis is, man. He's like, look, I'm
Mm-hmm.
in these streets for real, so
Right.
I'm gonna bust off. I'm gonna cause accidents. I'm trying to kill this dude.
Right.
And yeah, man, and that just shows kind of how, in a way, he's starting to go insane,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the insanity of Michael. Like,
Yeah.
to the point where some of the other, professionals in here are like, "Hey, you gotta come back with me now.
Mm-hmm.
Enough is
Yeah.
enough."
Right.
And it's just like, is he too close now to the insanity of Michael
Right.
Myers?
Which we will
Yeah.
see a little bit later on in the franchise too. That whole idea of him getting close to that edge of sanity, dealing with Michael. But we also, Coriander, I'll throw it to you. We also see that Sheriff Brackett from the original film, and he says to him, "Is it him or isn't it?" And of course Loomis doesn't know. But
Mm.
before we could figure that out, they have other cops come, and then they say, "Hey, we got to go back to the house." And they basically say, one of the bodies we find is Annie. And I was just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's his daughter. And I was like, man, that
Right.
really sucks. And so we had that quick scene with Nancy Keys, obviously showing
Mhm.
her body from the first film. And that basically takes Sheriff Brackett out of the equation because, and I got to admit, man,
Yeah.
Charles Cypher's, just great in these supporting roles because he says, I got to
Mhm.
go home and tell my wife before someone else does. And that really hit home. It's like, wow, man, that would really suck. As a sheriff,
Yeah.
you see all this stuff all the time, but one of these victims is your own
Yeah. Your
daughter, you
daughter.
know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it basically passes the baton, but you have that Loomis moment where, he's talking about, he's not even remotely human and this and that. And
Mm.
just some great scenes, man. They really kept a lot of that great, mojo from the original movie, in my opinion. What did you think, Coriander, about how these scenes kind of came together?
Yeah. I thought this movie was, it all flowed well. I really didn't have much of a problem with, how things were going.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yep. Um, and let's see, Eric was saying, I mean, Jesus Christ, how fast was that cop car going?
Right.
It
Yeah.
must have been
And what was
going
he paying
pretty.
attention? He was obviously driving and paying attention to someone else and not watching the kid who was coming across the
Right,
road. So
right,
it's like, what
right,
the hell were you looking at, man?
right. And we got John Steele in the chat saying, my favorite of the franchise. All right, man. I can't deny it. It is really good.
It's good.
It
Yeah.
really really good. Um, let's see. Slasher Fred says I read that Charles Cyphers is supposed to return in Halloween Kills. That would not surprise me because they're definitely bringing back quite a few characters. You know. Sean in the chat saying, I will point out one amazing scene when Laurie runs down the elevator. The look on her face, the red on the elevator, the red light shining on the mask. He's stepping on glass, the music pumping. That is exactly
Mhm.
right, man. And I was going to talk about that too. You read my mind. I love that scene. That's why I had it in the intros and stuff because I think it was
Yeah.
so cool. Just the tension and everything working together. Absolutely. I totally agree. Patrick's in the chat too saying, hello. What's going on,
Hi.
Patrick?
Hey.
Yeah. Yep. And Sean saying, in many ways, he was the ideal patient. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was. Yeah. But Kill, let me throw it back to you. Once we get back into the hospital scene, that's pretty much where the rest of the movie takes place, is the hospital and the staff and dealing with different things. What were you thinking at this point? Because they were really just setting up all the things that were going to come to pass later on in the movie. You've got the security guard. He seems like he's just, he's a nickel and dimer, and so forth and so forth. What were you thinking of these characters?
Well, I think all of these characters are sweet, wholesome people that live in a quiet little kind of rural town. So
Good
they're,
point.
they're, they're not meant for this. This is not
Yeah.
like, LA in the 80s or New York or, Gotham City or something like that. This is like
Right.
rural apple
Illinois.
pie America. And you have like this serial killer who can't be killed on the loose. And then on top of that, not only is it like rural Haddonfield, it's the night shift. Okay, come on.
Hmm.
Now, if you're hungry and you want something to eat, you're like, oh man, but it's the night shift. My food's not going to be right, or they're not going to have. Then,
Right.
oh, yeah, the burger joint is going to be like, we're out of beef patties. So it's like, oh, really? So
Right.
this is the night shift, man. So, like you said, nickel and dimers, and no offense to night shift, but things should be more relaxed at night. And
Right.
that's how it's carried in this movie. And Michael
Yes.
just reaps the rewards of this. And
Hmm.
also it's the 80s, the communication is not as good as it is now. Like for instance,
Right.
when the one nurse has the walkie-talkie and the
Yes.
the uh, the, the security guy is like, hey, you gotta do something. We got a broken lock here. You gotta call the sheriff. And she's like, what? I
Yes.
can't hear you.
Yeah.
This walkie-talkie's buffering. I don't know what it's doing. I can't hear you. So,
Right.
you're also, you're fighting the technology, and the security is not that good. And one thing about Michael Myers, he don't really use doorknobs. He just crashes through doors, crashes through, especially when he sees Lori, like, oh, that's Lori. I don't got time for doorknobs. I just gotta,
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Just
man.
go right through.
just go
Real,
right
Right?
through.
real quick, we got Mr. Dan and Horror in the chat. Dan saying, "Hey guys, that crash scene was well done,
Hey.
but plot-wise, a little convoluted." Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Nah, I
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah.
I agree. I think
Like,
it
did
was
you
basic.
really need that? Did you?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was. I think they were just trying to pull an okey doke, making you think, "Oh, Michael's there and Loomis is going after him," and yeah, it could have been. It could have been a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric saying, I don't think anyone loves Halloween 2 more than Sean. And he says, probably true.
Nice.
uh, Eric says, what's scarier if you're Lori? The hospital being creepy and empty at night, or the fact that the doctor initially looking after you is drunk? Laughing out loud.
Yeah,
Right.
man.
I know he had to get some coffee to get himself straight. But
Oh
Coriander,
wow.
let's go to that one scene coming up, actually, where we talk a little bit about the doctor. What were you thinking about this scene? And obviously paying homage to the original.
Yes, I love how they play with shadows and having Michael just come out and taking another victim. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I loved it.
I thought it was a good scene too, and
Yeah.
he just appears from the dark. It just look. They
Yes.
call him the Shape, okay? And I gotta admit, even in this movie, I think they did a really good job of showing him as the Shape. You'd see him behind
Mm.
the curtain, and you would see the shadow. He's here, he's there, he's walking across the hallway of the hospital, maybe 30 feet away from the nurses, and they don't even
Yeah.
hear him. They don't even see him, and I think it just
Mhm.
builds on that whole mythology. But let's talk about something else, man. And Kill, we're going to start this off. We know that John Carpenter did not plan to do sequels. He did not plan to have a franchise. But Mustafa Akkad and the producers of the film, they wanted to keep going with this thing. They saw the possibilities, and it got to a point where John was even sued and kind of brought back into the fold to write this movie. He wrote it. What do you think about what he came up putting this in a hospital setting? Personally, myself, I think it worked because it's a new setting, it's something different. You could have all these new characters come in, and you still can highlight Donald Pleasance and ultimately Jamie Lee Curtis. What would you think of it?
I loved it because for
Mhm.
one, you're changing up the scenery from the suburban neighborhood, the rural neighborhood, to a kind of a bottleneck. I
Yeah.
love those. One building,
Hmm.
a building can either inspire hope or dread and be creepy as hell.
Yes.
Yeah. Good
And and
point.
and I think with the lighting, the limited staff members, like
Hmm.
it's nighttime, all of that like just kind of plays into it, and it just works. It definitely works. And one other scene, and I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, or that you're going to touch on it, is the scene with the nurse and I think Buck in the in
But
yeah Bud
yep, I
in
was just
the
about to get to that.
in the spa treatment room. Talk about the shape just kind of creeping in and cock blocking. Like, he just kind of and what's so cool is we're all as the audience kind of playing Where's Waldo, because you're looking at that window panel in the back and you're wondering,
Yes.
am I going to see the shape glide past there, and
Yes.
what is he going to do with the water temperature and this and that. And then of course Michael is so scary. He kills the dude, and then he just glides up behind the nurse and just standing there, puts his hand on her shoulder, like, hey.
Yes.
And you're watching this and you're like, oh my goodness. And it's just like, geez, man. And then he aces her out,
That was a
hey,
horrible, horrible death too, man. I was just like,
that
Yeah.
wow.
yeah, yeah.
That was just rough. Yeah, but it was a great scene, man. It really,
Yeah, it
really
was.
was. And he was just there. He's always there. He's the shape, man. He really, really is. Coriander, what did you think of that scene?
Yeah. It was great. I mean,
Hmm.
like you said, you were showing the pictures. I mean, you saw her
Hmm.
face every time he'd pull it up.
Healing.
Her face
Yeah.
was yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
It was
Well,
great. Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. Real quick in the chat, we've got oh no, scary stuff. What's what's going on? Welcome to the chat. Nice to have you. Halloween 2 made Michael Laurie's brother, so the answer to your video's question is yes. Now, that is the big thing I wanted to get to is did
Ugh.
this movie derail the franchise because it ultimately changed everything about how Michael was going to be characterized in the future movies and obviously even Jamie Lee Curtis up until 2018 Halloween, of course.
Yeah.
What do you think, Hill? Did this derail the franchise? Do you think it diminished Michael's characterization or what?
Well, it just felt so shoehorned in, like at the
It
0 hour.
was, and
Like,
and it was,
yeah, and it's like,
yeah.
because we're watching this whole movie, and then you have the other, the other doctor from Dr. Loomis's, his facility. It's like, oh, by the way, there was a secret file.
Hmm.
Michael is Michael and Laurie are sisters. Okay, anyway, yeah, let's just get there. It just
Yeah.
felt like it was just shoehorned in there real quick, like boom, boom, boom. And us as, you didn't feel it, in my opinion. And not like, Luke, I am your father. Like, oh
Hmm.
shit,
Right.
what?
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
this just kind of felt like, all right, you didn't really need that. So, like, as far as to answer your question on did this derail, the franchise, I'm gonna say no, it didn't derail the franchise,
Hmm.
but it did diminish a little bit of the motive
Hmm.
of the
Yeah.
killer. Like,
Yeah.
I prefer just whatever just happened to just being insane and crazy. Not
Exactly, man.
yeah, not just like, okay, I'm crazy, but I'm motivated by wanting to kill my siblings. Why
Right.
not
Yeah.
just be that shark that will kill anything it sets its eye on,
Yeah.
and maybe in particular this one, maybe his motivation was just like, she's the one that got away. You know what?
Exactly.
It's
That's how
hey,
I felt.
I still got time on the clock. It's still Halloween night. I'm gonna get
Right.
that ass.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, why not just have it like that? Why do we have
Yeah.
to have this
Hmm.
extra motivation?
Well,
Exactly.
and the thing of it was, like I said, Carpenter, this was not a planned thing, and it was at the 0 hour. And I think that it would have been fine without it, because obviously in the
Yes.
2018 movie we saw how effective that movie was, and they talked about how they're not related because two on out were not part of the canon. So I don't think it derailed it, but I do think, and like you said, Killian, I do think it lessened Michael as a character a little bit because he doesn't need that as a motivation, and it
Oh.
really kind of pigeonholed him a little bit when they brought him back for part four, because now it's like, okay, you don't have Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie, so what's he gonna do now? And he goes after his niece, so it kind of pigeonholed him a little bit too
Yeah.
much in
Good.
those movies,
Yeah, man.
although, and we'll get to part four, but although some of those sequels they were good sequels, so it was kind of like a back and forth. Coriander, I hear you saying, agreeing with that. You agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think it was needed, because I
Hmm.
totally agree with Killian that he doesn't need to be a sibling to anybody. He's fucking crazy. I
Right.
mean, and like you
Well,
say, it was a job unfinished,
right.
You did not need that in the story. No.
Yeah. Yep. um Eric in the chat was saying wasn't a fan of Michael knowing Laurie is at the hospital due to luck. He just happened to walk past that guy with the boombox listening to the news, but then again they had to do something. Yeah, they did. They
Yeah.
really did. So they just try to make this thing work. We got my man Grande is in the chat saying, "Hey everyone, what's going on, man?
Hey.
My
Hey.
man Grande, what's going on, brother?" And he's saying that Halloween 2 is my favorite Halloween movie. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I hear you, man. I
Nice.
love it too.
Nice.
I really do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Me too.
Sean was saying that the hospital setting is so perfect for a slasher film. It really is, and
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think any film, and I might be wrong, but just right off the top of my head, I can't think of any other horror film that that did a hospital better than this movie. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's just so
Yeah.
crazy. It's so crazy and creepy. Um, let's see. Eric was saying, "Oh no, scary stuff. I love that name, and I just connected to your channel." All right, man, that's awesome. Yeah, you guys in the chat know how this goes. You guys definitely support each other. We all want to be supportive of each other. So thank you very much for Oh no, scary stuff joining the chat, and also please subscribe to us if you are not subscribed already. That would be great. Uh, Grande says, in a lot of ways, I feel like they tried to end it here on purpose. This just tried to end the story in a way. Halloween 3 inadvertently brought Michael back because of the backlash. Absolutely correct. John Carpenter was going to end it here, and that's why it ended the way it did with the fire explosion and everything. They really wanted to end this story, but the
Yeah.
fans wouldn't let it go. You know.
Right. And this reminded me again of, like you said, Halloween 2018. In the end, again, fire took him out just like it did in this, but it didn't take him out. Just like in this one,
He
he
can't
walked
be
out of
killed.
it.
Right.
Exactly. When he was walking out on fire, still, it was like, what the hell, man? Come on, It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Eric was saying that he didn't care about them being brother and sister, always thought it was kind of dumb and pointless. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Dan was saying, what was the deal with Michael writing Sam Hain on the classroom wall? Again, they were reaching, man. They were reaching. So, but I mean,
Well,
all
didn't
that.
Loomis even say something about it? He kind of said something. I can't quite remember what, but he did
Well,
mention as to
yeah,
maybe why.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking about how the Festival of the Dead and the
Yeah.
Druids and all that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
I get it. It all fits. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was okay with it. I was okay with it. The movie works for me. I agree that the whole brother sister angle was not needed, and it kind of lessened Michael's characterization a little bit, but it didn't make me not like it. I just
Right.
was like,
Right.
oh
Right.
well, that's what they're gonna go with. You know what I mean? Um, Sean was saying it made for good shock value. Was it necessary? No, but it was shocking. I thought it was cool. Was Vader being Luke's father necessary? No, but made for good shock value. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying. Absolutely. So as we get to the third act kill, let's jump back into this a little bit. So and we saw that scene where they were in the classroom and this and that. And again, I think if anything, this was more for Loomis to get some more time, to talk and explain and
Yes.
be the ultimate hype man that he is. But it
Mhm.
also allowed Nurse Marion to come back into the fold and the whole thing with, hey, we got to
Yeah.
take you back. You're ordered by the state, and this was really just set up so that they could get to the hospital. You really could think about this whole Sam Hang, Loomis speech, and Nurse Marion there. That's just a way for them to get back to the hospital. So ultimately, Loomis can deal with Michael, or at least try to deal with Michael. But it was great seeing these two together, and they had their nice little moment, and we know what happens. But Kill, we got to go back to that scene that we showed in the clip earlier when Michael reveals himself to Laurie. And like I said, this scene is the whole finale. It's like 30 minutes, 32 minutes long. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I love this scene so much. I mean, it's just great. What were you thinking at this point?
Oh man. Like tension.
Yes.
Because Lori is drugged. She's wounded. I mean, she's limping. I mean,
Hmm.
she had just went through hell a few hours earlier, not days, not
Right.
Yeah.
yesterday, a few hours earlier for a fight for her life, and now
Mhm.
she's going at it again. I mean, at least Sigourney Weaver got like 60 years in between her fights in cryo sleep,
Ah,
man. No, Laurie Strode, you talk about final girls.
yes.
Can please someone tell me if I'm wrong? Has any final girl had to go through two movies and go through two battles in the same night?
Yeah.
Mm.
Think
Yeah.
about
Good
that.
point.
Hey
Yeah.
man.
Let
Well,
us know in the comment section,
hey, but
guys.
also, but just as important, brother, you got to remember this. If you did not see our top 10 final girls of all time, you guys got to watch that video. It was about a month ago we did that. You guys got to watch that video and
I,
see where people
I remember
where
what my
things
number
land.
one was.
I remember what my number one was too.
You guys should check it out. It was an awesome discussion.
It was.
But yeah, I mean, this whole sequence, and like you said, I think I counted it out too. Like this section is about 35 minutes, and
Yeah.
the thing that's so scary is you had all the other players that were in the hospital either knocked unconscious or
Yeah.
killed.
There you
So
go.
it just left the door open for Michael to just walk his happy ass just as slow as he pleases down
Yeah.
them corridors.
He always
He's just like,
walks.
just
He
walk
Yeah,
always
in,
he
yeah,
does.
walks.
okay, stabbing pillows. Oh, she's not in there. No worry, she's around here
Right.
somewhere. Because Michael's already like, I just messed her up a few hours ago. She's not going anywhere, and I've already inflated all the tires. No one is leaving
Yeah.
this place. Hey, you can check in, but you can't check out. So Loomis, you guys, come on, you guys will be an appetizer. I'll take you guys out too. And I
All
mean, it's
right.
just it's just high tension from that 35 minutes on, and you're like, oh my
Right.
goodness, Lori. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got my man Ben. Ben's in the chat saying, "Sup guys? How you doing,
hey,
man?
Hey.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you." Uh Grande says Loomis is absolutely a hype man. Completely agree, Knight.
Mhm.
The sequels without him sorely miss him.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. Sean says, I love Loomis dialogue in that scene. Halloween isn't about ghosts, goblins, or witches. It's about the unconscious mind. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, telling you, man, Donald Pleasance he's always good. Um,
Mhm.
Instead of more of the night he came home, it's more of the night she kicked ass. Totally agree, Killian. Yes, absolutely. Um, but yeah, Coriander, I want to throw it to you with that scene too, because I just thought it was fantastic. And again, shout out to Sean too, because I love this scene right here. Just the look on her face. I'll never
Yeah.
forget this as a kid. She really sold it to me,
Yeah.
and just the lighting and the way it was shot, and he's
Mm.
walking. And what did you think of these scenes, Coriander?
I mean, I love the whole atmosphere that the hospital brought. I mean, it
Yeah.
was dark, creepy. It, like you said, you could watch them just walking down the hallways on the security monitor, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I loved the whole ending. It was great.
Yeah. And when she got out of the hospital, I remember when I first watched this as a kid, I was like, all right, she made it. We're good,
Mm,
we're good. And then, the car doesn't start up, the tires are deflated, and I'm like, oh fuck. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
yeah.
But that gives us a chance because Loomis isn't there yet. That gives us the chance
Mm,
for Loomis to get there. And of course, this is the conversation that he had with Nurse Marion, where it totally changed the outlook of the rest of the franchise, where she tells him that Michael and Laurie are brother and sister. Again, when it's funny because as a kid, when I saw it, I had no issue with it whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it probably made me enjoy it more because I was like, oh man, they're brother and sister. That's crazy or whatever. As an
mm,
adult, now I think more about Michael's as a character and what that means, as far as him
yeah.
either being a sibling or not. And like I said, I think it's better that he's not, just like how they've went back to in the 2018 Halloween. And also shout out to Loomis giving the warning shot to the window. That was just great. Um, but they
Yeah.
get there. They get there to the hospital. You have that fantastic scene where Jamie Lee didn't have a lot to do in this movie, but when she did stuff and this finale, this 30-minute finale, I thought she was great. And when she finally yells, because she couldn't even talk, she sold
Hmm.
that pretty good. But when she finally got out the words, help me, and it was like, wow, that's just great. And then it's the standoff. And man, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Kill. I thought the standoff was so cool. Michael just walks in the door through the glass. It's just fantastic. What do you think about the ending of this movie?
Man, I think this is one of those Arnold Schwarzenegger versus the Predator endings where
Yeah,
y'all got lucky. Like, I mean,
right,
because Dr. Loomis only has so many bullets, and
right,
he shoots him. He gets dropped. He tells the other lady, "Hey, go get on the radio," and
right,
tells the cop, "Don't get close. Don't
right.
don't check him. Don't check his pulse." And the cop's like, "Oh, what? He's dead. Oh, get your throat slit." Like, oh my God, you
Yes.
you
Yeah.
you idiot. And then it's
Mhm.
so scary because you're in that corridor, and it's only but so many places for you to run and hide.
Right. Yeah.
And Michael is just a force. He's just gonna keep going, and
He
he doesn't
is.
like he hates doorknobs, so he's just gonna crash through every door, dude. you know
You
and
all right.
and then that final room, it's a tight square. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like a little storage room they were in. And man, it's just, wow, this is just like you said, a standoff. This is them just using their wits and using what's around to
Hmm.
survive. And luckily, they're in the storage room with all the flammable gases. So
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, man, it's just crazy. But the other thing I want to mention was that the music, once again, I think the music, they did a hell of
Mhm.
a job with the music.
yes.
They amped it up a little bit, with the synthesizer and stuff like that. And I thought that that was a really cool little added twist. But Coriander, for you, that finale and when she finally shoots at Michael after we seemingly see Loomis get stabbed, which I gotta admit, when I first saw that, I was like, no, I was like, I was really like
Yeah.
into it. I was like, no, don't kill Loomis.
Yeah.
What do you think of
Right.
how they ended it?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, finally, someone who shoots him in the head, but still he continues to keep walking towards her. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he just can't be killed. It's crazy shit. And it's so smart that Loomis started to turn on the gas because then
Yes.
it got Michael turned back towards him, where Jamie
Yes.
could turn on, Lori could turn on the gas on, where she was. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it was sad when Loomis obviously did the heroic thing and blew
Yes.
himself up, but
Hmm.
it's just crazy that Michael didn't get blown to pieces, and that would be it. But no, yes, here he comes. It's like,
Yeah, that
what the
fire stunt.
hell?
That was a great fire
Yeah,
stunt, man. Shout out to those
yeah, it
guys,
was.
man. I don't know if
Yeah,
I assume that was Dick Warlock that did it, but Eric was saying, don't forget the death in the water therapy tub. Yeah, yeah, we did talk
yeah,
about
we
that, dude.
talked
That
Oh
about
was a
yeah.
that.
great,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great scene. One of the standout scenes, actually. We got my man Kevin in the chat, Death Central, saying, "Hey guys, Halloween 2 is in my faves of the franchise." Nice. Mine too, man. Not mine too. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Great to see you, man. Great to see you. Everyone check out Death Central. He's got some really good stuff, man. I love watching his kill counts. They're the best, man. Um, Patrick in the chat saying night shift zone. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they were.
Uh, Sean saying, is there a more iconic scene than the blood tears when he gets shot in the eyes? It's the
Yeah.
single biggest image when you think of Halloween 2. It's very true. I mean, and again, when I saw that, I was just like, this guy cannot be killed.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just can't.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Eric saying, my favorite fire stunt in a horror movie. That's all I can say. Yeah, man.
Nice.
Drake saying, I love Sandman in the credits. Yeah, it just had an old school vibe to it. I love
Mm.
that. Even rewatching it, it just felt like like me and Killian say, going home. It was just nice to watch. Kevin saying thanks. Of course, man. You know we got your back here. You know that. We're all good, and you deserve it. Um, but yeah, man, this film is phenomenal. Final thoughts, Kill. I mean, I love this movie, and me and you. I think it's funny. I'm going to go off topic for just one quick moment. I'm sorry, guys, but I think Kill, one of our earliest videos that we did. I'm trying to remember, but didn't we talk about how we loved watching these two in a row?
Yeah, 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 we did.
One of the earliest videos we ever did when we didn't even know if we would really do this YouTube thing. And yeah, I don't know why, but that memory just came to my head. But anyways, but let me know what you think, Kill. Final thoughts on this thing, man.
You know, like I said, this is a perfect sequel where they gave me what I loved from the first and expanded the world more. You brought
Mm-hmm.
back the iconic characters, and one thing that I've said before that stands out about at least the Halloween early movies like with Donald Pleasance is unlike a Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. You not only have your final girl or the teenagers that are being hunted, but you have Dr. Loomis. You got a hype man. You have that
Mm.
steady Eddie figure that
Mm-hmm.
will let the new cast of teens or the audience know, hey, this guy is nothing to play with.
Mm-hmm.
you know and the other two movies in the Trinity don't have that character.
Right.
They really don't, and to me that brings a whole different dynamic to this franchise, or at least the early part of this franchise, because
Mm-hmm.
now you have this kind of third pillar where you have a protagonist, which is Laurie, antagonist Michael, but then you have your Colonel Troutman, you have
Mm-hmm.
your Dr. Loomis on the
Yeah,
side that also is a protagonist as well, because he really took a good lion's share of the scenes in this movie because
he
Laurie
did.
was in such bad shape in
Yeah,
this movie. So
absolutely.
great sequel. And seriously, guys, if you have not watched these two back to back,
Mm-hmm.
take 3.5 hours, watch them in one fell swoop, because
Yeah,
they connect so well
they
you
really
know
do.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick Rosenthal talked about that. He wanted it to connect to the original. That was the main idea, when he found out he was going to take over directing for John Carpenter. Grande says, question to everyone, is this the best Halloween sequel in your opinion? Now, before wait a minute. I don't want to answer that yet, John, because we will be ranking the franchise at some point. But all I can tell you is that I absolutely adore this movie. I can tell you that. I really, really
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, let's say Eric's so funny. Best or favorite, Grande? Yeah. Yeah, I guess there could be a difference between the two. Let's see. Drake says, I mean, Halloween 4 and 5 have Danielle Harris, her start, but it really should have ended here. It definitely could have ended here. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. And Patrick was saying that Pamela Susan Shoop was a big staple on 70s, early 80s TV. Indeed. And I thought she was fantastic in this movie too for what she was given. But Coriander, final thoughts for you on this movie. What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great sequel, and I enjoyed this movie from start to finish. And yeah, I mean, I can't really find besides the whole brother sister thing. That's my only beef with this movie.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's great.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And also, real quick in the chat, Sean was saying it's the only one that matches the look, feel, and tone of the original classic. I dare say it matches the tension as well. It's not perfect, but just damn good. I don't
Yeah,
know if I
Hmm.
could have said it any better than that, Sean. That
Yeah.
is that
right.
is an excellent comment. And
Hmm.
Drake was saying, "Have a great night, Killian and Coriander and Jerry."
We've
Oh
Jerry.
morphed
man,
together,
Oh.
Killiander.
yeah,
Yeah, oh,
exactly.
nice.
Uh, hey, look, man, I'm doing a lot of reading. Okay, no, but no, for me, man, this movie, it really was a standout. And although I think it had issues, kind of like what Sean was saying, I don't think it derailed the franchise. I think it took it in a little bit of a different direction. But and the reason I'm saying this, and I know it's a little bit of a tease, we are going to be covering the other movies in the franchise, and we're going to see how being derailed doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stay derailed, because this movie franchise, more than Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, this franchise went all over the place with timelines and mythologies and everything. Some of it worked and some of it was a little like, I don't know. But we're going to get to that again every week on Wednesdays all the way up until Halloween Kills comes out in the theaters. We're going to be covering this franchise and having a hell of a time doing it. So we appreciate you guys in the chat hanging out with us. This has been fun as usual talking about this franchise. And next week, we're going to be talking about Season of the Witch. And that is going to be fun. It's going to be
Yeah.
fun. Get ready. And Eric, get ready to light that torch, brother. Light the torch. It's going to be fun. Dan says, another great chat. Thank you, man. We appreciate that so much. Thanks for hanging out with us. Grande saying, wonderful show, guys. Keep up the great work. Thanks, man. We
Thank you.
appreciate it. You
Yeah,
too,
thanks.
man. You too, man. You're doing
Right?
some hell of a work. You're doing all right, man. Eric saying, great stream tonight, everyone. Can't wait until next week. Knight knows how much I enjoy part three due to watching our live streams. Yes, yes, indeed. Uh, Kevin saying, "Uh-oh, haha, later, guys. Yeah, next week's gonna be all right, man. It's gonna be all right." Sean saying, "You don't know what death is, right?" Yeah, hopefully we don't have people coming after us after next week, man. But
Oh,
anyways,
shoot.
guys, let us know in the comment section too. What do you guys think about this? Favorite moments, favorite kills, what it did for the franchise or what it didn't do for the franchise. Let us know in the comment section. It would really help us out with the channel. Also, give us a like, and we will catch you guys next time. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Up, chicken a meal.